So from those humble beginnings, how did it actually evolve that you came to meet Michael and In Excess and lead us to where we are today?
Well, I actually met Michael I met all of In Excess, but I met Michael first in '89 at the Siebel Townhouse where I just mentioned, and I knew he was staying there. A friend of mine told me, and I went down one day and I heard his Harley Davidson come roaring out of the car park, and I had a white piece of paper and a pen, and he did this really quick scribble, and I thought, oh, it's not much of an autograph. It doesn't say Michael Hutchence, so I thought, oh, he's got to come back. I'll have to wait for him. So I waited all day, and he came back and rode his Harley into the car park, and I ran down to the car park to meet him, and the hotel security gave chase, and so like, Michael, I've been waiting all day, and he said, no, he's fine, let him come over. So the guy walked away, and I went over to Michael and started chatting to him, and I was only 15 or 16 and didn't know what charisma was, but there was something really special. I knew at that age there was just something really special about Michael Hutchence, and he was certainly the most charismatic person that I'd ever met. And a week or two later, I was at school, and a friend of mine told me that In Excess were rehearsing at the Sydney Opera House. So we went down there, me and my friend, and we walked into a photo shoot. They were at the back in a truck, and we got a photo with them. And a few weeks after that, it was January 1990, and I found out that In Excess were recording an album at Rhinoceros Recording Studios in Sydney. So it was my school holidays, because it's summer over here in January, and had about 6 weeks off to kill. And while my other friends were riding skateboards and bikes and doing lots of other things, I popped down to the studios to hang out with In Excess. And of course, they were one of the biggest bands in the world, and Michael Hutchence was one of the biggest and greatest rock stars in the world as well. And there I was, this 16-year-old naive kid, hanging out with them, and I spent about 5 or 6 weeks at the studios, and they really were incredible. And Michael took me under his wing and used to take me into the studios, and I could sit on the couch and listen to him record, Disappear or Bitter Tears and all that kind of stuff. And it came time to go back to school, and I said to Mum, I'm really liking this, I'm enjoying it, I want to become a photographer. And this guy called Michael Hutchence, I think kind of likes him, and he's going to help me out. So I spent those 5 months with In Excess, and I was getting into photography, and Michael took me under his wing, and I was really just practicing my photography on Michael, who was, as I said before, one of the biggest rock stars and most famous people in the world. And there I was, just this kid, doing these, I guess, kind of basic and simple, photo shoots on him. And
were all the shots that you took studio-based, or were they even intended for promotional purposes? Indeed, did you even become a photographer on the road with the band?
No, it was more about where we were at the time. So if they were in the recording studio, it would be in there or outside, or if they were in rehearsals, it would be there. Or as the years progressed, I'd he'd come to town, and I'd say, do you have time this week for a shoot? And he'd say, yeah, Tuesday 3:00, and I'd go down to the hotel, and we might walk up the road and find a park bench, and I'd shoot 2 or 3 rolls over 30-40 minutes. And so that's how it kind of that's the photography side of things. But we just formed this nice little friendship to where he could trust me, because I had hundreds and hundreds of photos of him, and of course they would have been worth money for the tabloids, certainly as he became more of sort of tabloid fodder, you could say. But he trusted me, so he kept allowing me to do that. And we just had this nice little friendship. And we just spent, every time he came to Sydney, we'd spend some time together. That might be simply catching up for a coffee, or him driving me around Sydney, showing me where In Excess recorded and filmed Just Keep Walking. He took me down to the studios one night where the big warehouse was, where they filmed Just Keep Walking. It just evolved into a friendship where we went night clubbing and went to the movies and all kinds of things. But I was always in awe of him, and he was always my idol, so it was always a thrill. I I never took it for granted that I was hanging out with Michael Hutchence, not for one moment.
It sounds incredible to just get that access to someone who at that time was one of the biggest stars in world music. How did you manage to reacclimatise back to the regular daytime life that there was at that point for Richard Simpkin?
Well, my everyday life became, it was all revolved around celebrities. I guess because of those early years with In Excess and Michael, I wanted to be a photographer. So soon after that, I finished school and went to college and did a diploma in photography, and got a job soon after that working for a celebrity photo agency. So I was out there on, I guess, the celebrity scene. You know, I could be, you know, one day doing a press conference with Roger Moore, the second day doing a photo shoot with Phil Collins, you know, the third day out with Debbie Harry doing some photos, and then, you know, next month Michael Hutchence would come into town and I'd be with him. So it kind of, it kind of wasn't too far from what I was doing anyway. The only difference was, you know, I wasn't, you know, I didn't really care too much for, say, a Debbie Harry or a Phil Collins, but, you know, when I saw Michael, when I was with Michael, you know, it was different because, you know, he was really a special person.
So, Richard, what is it about Michael? Bearing in mind the vast number of celebrities you've met across the years, just what is it about Michael that made him stand out? What was so special about Michael's persona?
That's a good question, Jim. There was just some... Look, he was the most charismatic person out of all of them. And as you said, I've got a website called richandfamous.com, and I spent many years, over 25 years, meeting and photographing it, and of course getting my photo with, you know, people like Audrey Hepburn and Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, you know, Michael Jackson, and you know, even today's celebrities, you know, like the Lady Gagas, the Katy Perrys, you know, the Taylor Swifts, the Kim Kardashian, who's actually just down the road from where I'm talking to you at the moment, having dinner. A friend just called me then. And with Robert Redford. I was out, a friend called me and said, Kim Kardashian and Robert Redford are just down the road from your house if you want to pop down. And I said, no, I don't do that anymore, but thanks for the tip. But you know, out of all these people, and you know, there was just something that separated Michael from all these people. You know, there was that charismatic side to him, and you know, he was very shy, and that's what people really don't know about Michael. That he had this really shy, almost innocence to him. And I when I say innocence, I don't mean you know, he was dumb in any way. He was probably the most intelligent person I've ever met. He knew everything. He just knew everything. But there was just this kind, gentle, giving soul that was Michael, and you know, he did so much for so many people that people don't know about. I was with his friend yesterday having lunch, and we were talking about Michael, and he said, you know, there's so many good things Michael did for people that people will never know about. And you know, he said to me, this friend of mine that was with Michael for many years, they were close friends for 20 odd years, he said, you know, I was with Michael back in the 80s, and this girl came up to him and she had all this makeup on, and Michael started talking about makeup, and this girl said, I wear all this makeup because, you know, I've got really bad acne. And well, Michael didn't have the best skin either. And he, apparently this girl and Michael then went for a walk for like 2 hours and sat on the beach, and Michael talked to her about life and how he had to struggle with acne. And of course, you know, him being on the cover of magazines and newspapers, you know, almost on a weekly basis, you know, it was, you know, obviously magnified to a much larger degree. But after that 2 hours, apparently this girl said, you know, her life was changed forever, because if Michael Hutchence could deal with that in his life and having bad skin, then this girl, you know, with skin problems could also deal with it. And you know, he did that with a lot of people. He spent time with a lot of people, and it was just incredible. He really made sure he looked after, you know, people and people that he didn't even know. I was in the car with him one night, and we're coming back from rehearsals, and we were driving over the Harbour Bridge, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and an In Excess song came on, and I said, "Oh wow, it's one of your songs," and he said, "Oh no, I don't want to listen to it," so he turned it off, and then we looked to the right, and there was a car full of girls, and they were screaming. They'd noticed that Michael was driving in the car, and they were screaming. Well, he was supposed to meet someone that night for to go to the movies, and he was running late. Michael was always running late for things, and he had to go back to the hotel first and get something before he went to the movies, and he was about 40 minutes late. But he got out of the car, and these girls had followed him in the car, and they'd pulled up behind him, and they'd got out, and there's about 5 girls, and they said, "Oh, please, can we get an autograph? Can we get a hug? Can we get a kiss?" And I knew how late he was, and I was ringing up this guy and saying, "Look, Michael's running late. We're really sorry. He's going to be there very soon. You know, I know the movie started." And Michael could have easily just run in the hotel and grabbed something and gone out and brushed these girls. But, you know, he gave them all autographs. You know, they all got kisses. They all got hugs, you know, and he spoke to them. It wasn't just a scribble and you know, thanks for meeting me. You know, he got their names. He had a chat with them. He gave them time. And these are the things, I guess, that people don't know about Michael. And, you know, he copped a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of negative stuff, as we all know. Certainly in Britain, regarding with, you know, relationships and so forth, and I don't think he was looked upon, you know, in a fair way, you could say, certainly in the UK. But he was just a really unique person, and I was just so lucky to have known him for those years. It was 8 years which I knew him, and it was pretty incredible.
Well, that's very true, Richard, and indeed it's why I felt the need to do this tribute today. I don't think that the legacy that Michael left behind has been fully appreciated, and as you say, more so in this country. It does surprise me, bearing in mind the years of success that they enjoyed throughout Europe, all the way through those 1990s albums. So it is a bit of a shame. The pinnacle of actually filling Wembley Stadium in 91 seems to have been where things stopped for INXS in terms of the media. And it does seem that the only memory that the UK media wants to portray is that which filled the tabloid pages of the press throughout the period of 1995 through to 1997. For you though, Richard, what is your overriding memory of Michael that brings a smile to your face? What is it about Michael getting away from the sadness of his passing? What is it about the man that endures with you in the mind and gives a smile to your face?
It's hard to not get sad, but I guess you've got to think of those, you know, the fun times and think of how much joy Michael gave not only to me but to millions of people all around the world. And I'm really fortunate in where I'm in this position where I can speak to you, Jim, and you've got a radio show and you can speak to all your listeners as well, and people can hear about Michael. And I get messages daily, and when I say messages, you know, I could get 30-40 messages a day, either via my website or Facebook. People just want to talk about Michael all the time, and I'm happy to do that. And I caught up with him 2 days before he passed away. So Thursday, the 20th of November, 97. I spoke to his dad, and he said, "Come down, and I'm going to catch up with Mike. Going to have some breakfast." So I went down to the hotel and caught up with Michael and Kel, and I hung out with them at the coffee shop for a little while. And we got talking about a few things, and he told me that he was getting taxis, he was getting cabs to rehearsals. And I said, "Look, I'm busy tomorrow, Friday, but Saturday I've got the day off. So I'll take you to rehearsals on Saturday," which was November the 22nd. And he said, "Great, I'll see you about 10:30 at the hotel." And I said, "All right, I'll be there." Now, I'd just bought a brand new Audi a few months before that, and I was only 24, and I was really wanted to show my new car off to Michael, so I got it all cleaned, and I was all excited, and I went down to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and got down there a little earlier than what he said, and waited about an hour, and then I noticed that the hotel staff were a bit edgy, and they were looking at me and coming out and thinking what I was doing, because I was just parked outside the hotel waiting for a guest. I didn't say who I was waiting for, of course, and then an ambulance arrived, and then the police arrived, and I thought, oh God, what's going on here? And then a news cameraman came running down the street, and he came up to me. He knew me from the media, and he said, "What's going on at the hotel?" And I said, I don't know. What's going on? What have you heard? And he said, "I was sitting in the van up the road listening to the police radio, and I heard that an international Australian rock star had been found dead in his hotel room." And he said, "Do you know who that could be?" And that's how I found out that Michael had sadly passed away, through you know, a news cameraman. But it was a horribly sad moment, of course, for me and for the rest of the people that loved Michael. But you know, you deal with it. Certainly for myself, you know, or just people that didn't know him or never met him. You just listen to his music. You know, he wrote most of the lyrics with on the INXS, you know, records. So his words are there, his voice is there, and you know, he's always around us. And you know, he loved all of his fans, and we very much loved him. So there's always a smile on our faces when we think of Michael Hutchence, isn't there?
That's exactly for me, Richard. The whole purpose of me doing this show is to hopefully open the eyes of people who've forgotten all about the work that Michael did, and to just appreciate the music and the videos. And with that thought in mind, if I could just ask, if there's one track that you could choose that sums up for you Michael the singer, Michael the performer, Michael the star, what track would that be?
It's hard, isn't it, to say, can you choose a track of your favourite band? It's like choosing one of your kids. But look, I'd have to say New Sensation. It just has the best start, the best intro. There's so much energy in that song, and I think Michael sang it so well. I mean, he sang every song well, but every time I'm in the car and I'm just listening to the radio, I don't have any CDs on, I'm just, driving, and New Sensation comes on. That's the one I turn up loud, and that's the one that gets me in the best mood. So I think New Sensation's the song that you have to play, Jim.